Hi there, this is Susan Bock. Welcome to another edition of Fabulous Feature Friday. I'm delighted you're here with us today and that you can join in with our featured guest, Ragini Michaels. Welcome, Ragini.
Thank you. It's nice to be here, Susan.
Delighted to have you with us today. So I want to read your bio so that people have a chance to get to know just your uniqueness and how incredibly unique gifts that you have to share.
Thank you.
You're an Amazon best-selling author, is a certified coach and seasoned international trainer of NLP, neuro-linguistic programming, and Erickson-style hypnosis. You have run a successful private practice by referral only for over 4 decades. That alone is incredible. Yes. Demonstrating the power of skill at generating a consistent flow of happy clients. Isn't that what we all want?
I think so.
Awesome. Welcome. I'm so glad that you have a chance to join us today and share your gifts with our audience. So I'm just going to jump right in with this first question.
Okay.
You've said that you've taken a sabbatical for the last few years, and so I'm real curious, what has pulled you to come back and start offering certification training once again, this time exclusively for coaches?
Well, it's been an interesting few years. I actually took a lot of time in that sabbatical to jump into the new online world of online trainings and online education. And I wanted to sort of explore transferring some of my live trainings into online trainings. And so, of course, I jumped right in the fray like everyone else is doing and did all the study on marketing and funnels and, got caught up in the 5- and 6-figure income mania that is out there.
That's a great way to describe it.
Oh, it's fairly daunting, I mean, a lot of people, they're brand new to the field and to that. For me, it's a crossover to come back. So anyway, in the course of all that exploration and meeting a bunch of other people and having coaching, having become such a huge profession over the last 10 years or so, I met a lot of coaches, and part of what I saw was a lot of people were out there trying to get a practice going without actually having the depth of skill that I personally know will work for you to generate a successful and consistent stream of income. So I just felt like I wanted to come back and sort of share with people my expertise and why skill, coming from a place where it worked for me. I mean, granted, it was a blessing in addition to having the skill for sure. But when you have the skill, it's kind of what allows you to transform strangers, who become customers and then into repeat clients who then give you fabulous referrals. And that's what happens when you have really good skill. So a lot of trainings today, certification trainings, don't have the time to actually give you practice and feedback. And so my focus now is really on that. So I came back because I feel I've met so many people who haven't done so well because they don't really have the skill. So I thought I'd come back and help out where I could.
Oh, that's terrific. And what I love is that you said you took some time off and really jumped into the online training, which is a whole new animal for many of us. You had mentioned you've been coaching for 40 years. I've been coaching for 20 years. The online world is new, and technology is incredible as it isn't always our friend.
Very true, and the focus is so on technology and making money and wealth and having the freedom that comes with being a solo practitioner. But gosh, you can't make it as a solo practitioner without skill. You just can't.
That's right.
So I'm trying to pick up that gap.
Good. You're a wonderful role model for so many, I'm sure. What's the main thing about your NLP coach training that sets you apart from other NLP coach certifications?
I think it is the emphasis on practice and feedback. For example, my coaching training right now, the one I'm going to be starting soon, is 5 months long. And the first 2 months, the first 8 weeks is basic information, all that you need. The last 3 months are practice, questions, and feedback with hands-on mentoring by me. So we really get the core fundamentals down for you. And then if you want to go on and get a full, that's for being a coach practitioner, because it's so important to have that and to have good feedback. So the main difference is the amount of time dedicated to practice and to good feedback. Because, you know, when you go through regular certification trainings as they are today, they give great information, but they don't give you any time to practice, and you don't get the feedback from somebody who's really skilled at it. And that was part of the demise of NLP as a huge thing, is because they started turning out too many people who had certificates but not much skill. So it kind of became kind of a problem in the long run about that. So that's kind of what my emphasis is going to be on.
Excellent. Looking at the 4 decades that you've been in practice, you have quite a history of exploring some different approaches of living a spiritually infused life. I love that, spiritually infused life. I see that you had some silent retreats, practices in presence and mindfulness and contemplation long before that became mainstream as it is today. So how has this influenced your professional life and working with clients?
Well, actually, it's influenced it a lot, because I use the term spiritually infused because I found that it was much easier to actually embrace a spiritual practice or presence in life when I stopped separating it from work and family life. So that became a big influence in terms of training people in the skills of NLP, which, by the way, I did study with the originators, Bandler and Grinder. I should throw that in. And with Robert Dilts, who also runs NLP University now. But I did study with the founders of it. So I got a kind of a purist approach to the foundations of NLP and what it was all about before it became known for all the change techniques, which is what made it more famous, rather than the fundamentals, which I found to be sort of, in a way, spirituality without any content. You know, it's a really good combination. So I think for me, learning NLP and helping people understand the value of being able to demonstrate in your behavior respect for your client's personal reality, because it's going to be different than the coaches, right? It always is. When you can really demonstrate that in your own behavior and in your language and in the way you approach your client, you're really demonstrating love in action. And that's a very concrete way to think of it, so that it kind of infuses, because so many people are into transformation and have spiritual paths now. Are much more open about it than they used to be. So that's kind of what I bring in. Not that I'm teaching anything specifically spiritual. What I am teaching is how do you demonstrate in your behavior a deep respect for the other person's perception of reality, even as you're working together to change it. Okay. And when you can do that from this lovely place that NLP offers as a platform to stand on, you're actually demonstrating love in action, which is probably more valuable for your client to experience than anything else you actually say or do or get results around.
Oh, I just got chills when you said that. Oh my gosh. Certainly resonated with me.
It's not something we find too often. So if you can get that into your beingness, so that you get it into your skills, and then it comes out of your mouth and is in your presence, it's a huge gift to people. It's one we can give. So.
And one that you share lovely. Thank you. Prior to us starting the recording of the interview, you shared with me a story that I'm wondering if you would share with our viewers, that relates to the comment about infusing or combining your spirituality with your life and no longer keeping the two separate. Would you be willing to share that story with our viewers?
Sure. I found a guru that I followed back in the 1970s, and I got a spiritual name at that time back in 1977. It was Ragini, which means, by the way, blissful melody. And
it means, I'm sorry?
Blissful melody.
Oh, nice.
I'm still working to attain that name, so make no mistake about it. I feel more of a Looney Tune than a blissful melody, but eventually it became too much to have a spiritual life and a regular life, and so I decided to make that part of my legal name, so I became Ragini Elizabeth Michaels.
Very nice. That is a beautiful example of claiming your uniqueness, becoming totally who you are, and sharing that with the world. Thank you.
You're welcome. It feels good on the inside. It has an upside, which you just articulated. The downside was it disturbs people because I don't have a normal name sometimes, and it puts them in the position of having to say something incorrectly, for which I apologize.
And I apologize because I did mispronounce it when I introduced you, so even though I rehearsed it, so my apologies.
It's okay. That's what you get when you take an Eastern name and make it your own.
And I applaud you for doing so. That's great.
It helped me claim more who I am and know who I am, and that becomes something not separable from work anymore. So that's a good thing.
Well, and I think the integration of who we are into all aspects of our life is part of how we can become more of who we are.
It's true. And for me, if I can share part of what I didn't know I was so much a loving person. I was very smart, and that's where I put all my expertise and all my eggs went in that basket, let's say. And by integrating my spiritual search and my spiritual understandings into my regular life, I started to realize I was much more of a loving person than I actually ever knew I could possibly be, which shocked me to death. But, you know, here I am, and it's fun. And now I'm talking about how to create love in action with NLP. But there you have it.
Awesome. Awesome. As the founder of a global association for coaching integrity, that in itself is quite an accomplishment. Can you tell us why you've created this organization and what it offers its members?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I decided to create it because I had kind of a concern about the emphasis on making an impact in the world, being followed by the notion of personal freedom, being followed by the idea of wealth, which kind of, in my perception, has gotten turned around, which is make the wealth, get the freedom, and then you'll make the impact. I'm wanting to come back in and saying, if you're really wanting to help transform the world and make it a better place, which is what I hear people say most of the time, then if you really want to be in integrity, you need to know what that means to you, what your values are, and what it is that's stopping you from living those when you're in your sessions with clients. Because if you don't have skill, you're just not going to be able to get the wealth and the freedom that you're looking for as a solopreneur, you know, because you're not going to get the kind of referrals, the results and the referrals that you want. So I'm kind of focusing in on the transformation, which is a big deal these days. And if you want to provide your client transformation, you really have to transform yourself and make sure that you are in integrity with yourself, your values, and what transformation means, and how you can. I don't know, the word is gone from my aging head here. How you can transform that or catapult it into love in action in a way that's respectful, appropriate to the context and to the relationship with client and facilitator, our coach, but still keep the highest level identity there as you're both human beings who are spiritual in some way or another. Even if you don't know you are, you're still, you know, why are you here? Is the big question people ask these days.
It is a big question, and I think it's becoming even a more compelling question as we're engaging in more self-discovery.
Yeah, I think so too. And I know a lot of people have what a friend of mine calls transformation fatigue. I just love that phrase because, you know, you can get so focused on getting transformation that you wear yourself out, and sometimes your steps can be so tiny that you feel like you're not doing well, forgetting that a tiny step, you know, that you just took successfully is cause for grand celebration, no matter how tiny it is. So yeah, that's kind of, and the association for itself, which I'm just actually beginning, is really, it'll have 4 newsletters a year. And what I'd like to do is have people that are interested in it, you know, be able to be interviewed, to share their views on integrity in the world of coaching, what's missing, what do they think needs to be in there, and have a place where people can promote their own programs and trainings as well.
Excellent. And for our viewers, if they would like to find out more about this association, where would they go?
Well, for the moment, they're going to have to just wait for me because, oh no, no, wait a minute. Is that done? Let me think for now. I'm right in the middle of doing a whole bunch of stuff. I think they can go to GACI, Global Association of Kosher Integrity, GACI.solutions, and they will get taken to a place where they can sign up for the newsletter. And hopefully if my mind is thinking correctly, you'll then get something from me that tells you, it's a free download of an ebook on the emerging need for coaching integrity.
Wow, that's great.
Yeah.
And we'll make sure that we post that URL in the interview so that people within the group can see it. But also, if they're not able to follow the link, can they just private message you through the Facebook group and then connect that way?
Absolutely. Plus,
Good.
Year, let me just throw this out. This year, anybody who joins the association this year will become a founding member, and you will have that status.
Oh, I will do that. Thank you.
You're welcome.
So the next question that I would like to ask you is that there's a lot of people out there you've mentioned who have had transformational experiences and want to help others recreate that through a program. And I would be one of these people who has spent lots of money learning how to create a specific program and sell it and market it, but not really get the results that they want. So is being certified as a coach that important today, that necessary? And what are your thoughts around this?
Well, it's certainly a widespread circumstance where people are creating programs and doing things like that and not getting the results they want. And my feeling is whether you get certification or not, which is always going to help you in marketing, it's just going to help you to have a certification from a recognized organization or an institution that has some cachet to it or whatever. But the key here is that without the skills to deal with people who are not like you, it's likely you're not going to succeed. So what I hear a lot of people say is, I don't know what to do with people who aren't like me because they've never trained in coaching or people helping skills. So if a person has never done that, never had any training in actual working with other people to get them from where they are to where they'd like to be, I absolutely recommend a certification training for that reason, even more than the actual certification that you'll have. It's important because what I keep hearing when I talk to people is when somebody isn't the way I am, I don't know what to do. I did it this way, A, B, C, D. And if they're not doing it, here's the things I hear. One, they're not coachable. Two, they're not ready. And those are really a disservice to your client because there's a way to see your client once you've got the flexibility, which is what I'm offering in my trainings to help people develop specifically. No matter who your client is or how different they are from you, you'll know what to do to help them move from where they're stuck past that point to help move them where they go. So it's not like you're saying, I can get you the change you want, although that is what you're saying. But you're also, if you're going to say that, if you're going to make an unspoken promise that you can offer somebody transformation, then my suggestion is strongly stated, you had best back it up with some communication skill training with not only how to talk to the conscious mind, but to the unconscious mind, because that's the mind that's in charge of giving the person permission to change. So if you can't communicate with that mind, which is my area of expertise, then you're going to run into more and more circumstances where you're going to feel stuck and not feel good about yourself, not get the results, and then you won't get the referrals, and there you have it. So
That's right.
I highly recommend training.
When I started my business in 2001, after I left corporate America, I went through the College of Executive Coaching to get my certification. And that was, at the time, an 18-month program, which was, to me, absolutely essential. And I still use it, the foundations that I learned in that program, I still use those basic skills to this day, because that's given me the framework, if you will, and the ability to meet my clients where they are, rather than expecting them to be where I am. Does that make sense?
Totally, and it's a major misunderstanding that a lot of people have who don't have any training. You know, so as long as you've got, and the coaching trainings are great that are out there. I mean, they all do really good jobs. The point I'm trying to come in is to cover that gap in being able to actually meet your client where they are, and for you to stay in integrity with yourself. If you're going to offer transformation, it's really important that you be congruent and in integrity.
Yes, and for me, it's coming from the foundational belief that we are complete and whole as we are. To be in a coaching relationship where we feel like there's something that needs to be fixed, or that someone is not complete or not whole, I think does a tremendous disservice to our clients. And I cringe as some of the coaching experiences that my clients have had before they've come to me, because it really does not bode well for coaching as an industry.
No, it does not.
And I know it's true in every industry. There are very qualified, successful, effective people and those that aren't. But it seems to be just so evident within the coaching industry right now, because our society is in such a transformation.
Yes, it certainly is. It is. And if your client, most clients who come in feel they're broken in some way. And if you don't realize that you hold that too, then it's very difficult. So to be conscious of that you hold it, and to move into a different place that says, no, I want to hold the space for this person to be whole and complete and have everything they need to get whatever they want. That's like huge, you know, to be able to do that. So that's fabulous. I'm glad to hear that. So there's a lot of good coaches out there. I'm not saying there aren't, but I'm really looking more at people starting or have been in it for a year or 2 years and aren't doing very well. Come back to skill. Don't pour your money into more marketing programs and how to make a better funnel and how many freebies do you have to give away before you get a client, or spending, 5 hours a week making cold calls to Facebook groups. I mean, those things, they're fine to do, but they're not necessarily going to get you what you're after.
Well, and oftentimes what I hear from clients when they first come to me is that they have invested in these programs with the expectation of getting the results of the person who was promoting the marketing program, not understanding that the key component that's left out of the marketing program is them. You can't duplicate what someone else has done and get their results, because that leaves out the essence of who you are, which brings us back full circle to where we started about the spiritual infusion, the integration of all of who we are.
It's very important, and that was very well said. I like that.
Thank you. What other advice, suggestions, tips would you like to share with our viewers today?
About coaching?
Or your life journey, or your uniqueness?
Well, I'll tell you, one of the things that I think it's important to really get, and it's talked about a lot, but it's not so easy to get to, and that's living in the present. It's really an interesting thing, because when you study neuro-linguistic programming, it gives you a really deep understanding, which I think deepens over the years as you use the approach of how time, past and future, and the present, especially past and future, is mental. And if you want to hit that place where you're integrated and you're touching something that's greater than your mind and your body, you really got to get into the now, which requires some courage, and some inspiration and some guidance and all that kind of stuff. And I'm not a spiritual teacher, but I can tell you that if you have a spiritual path, you do want to bring it into helping you, not your client, you be more present and be in the now, so that you can hold that space for your client. I think that's probably one of the greatest things I've ever learned, is to be able to get out of the way and let what's happening happen. And it's always the best for the client, as long as I'm holding that to be the case. Because you're kind of the captain of the ship for that hour that you have with that person, or hour and a half. So be in the now, she says. That's my advice.
That's great. Well, what I love is the heartfelt message that you're sharing. That's just enormous, and I believe it's what every soul needs to hear right now.
Well, I'll tell you, if we don't have the heart to come to, then you will polarize in your mind and you will be for something or against something. And then that's when hell starts. So if you want to be able to just, be a happier person, regardless of what happens in our crazy world right now, it's a good thing to come back to love and the heart and being in the middle, and just trying to be now. I know that sounds ridiculous, but it is doable. And there are ways to get there in addition to sitting in meditation for 12 hours every day.
That's true. So before we wrap up the interview, please share with our viewers the gift that you have to offer them.
I have a little gift. It's a little article that is a PDF download for you. And it's 2 life skills you have got to have. That's the title of it. And what I explain in it why it's of value, what the 2 skills are, how to notice them in yourself, what are 4 clues for help you recognize whether those 2 skills are in operation or not in your clients, and what you can, and why it's so essential to your personal happiness and your professional success. Okay? That's
lovely.
You can go to, will you put this in your thing, the link to get?
Yes, but please do share it with us.
It's a little long, sorry about that. It's www.Ragini Michaels, RAGINI, Michaels.com/opt-in- that's why you have to write it down, to TWO-life-skills. So RaginiMichaels.com/opt-in-to-life-skills with dashes between each of those words.
Great. We'll make sure that we get that in the post. Thank you. Thank you so much for spending this time with us today and for sharing your unique gifts with our viewers and for being an active part of the group. It means a great deal to me to have this community where women can come together that are desirous of being more of who they are and sharing their gifts with the world in a way that will have an impact.
It's my pleasure, Susan, and thank you for having the group and for doing these Fridays, and thanks for inviting me.
Thank you. It's been a pleasure, and until next week, this is Susan Bock saying thank you for being who you are, thank you for honoring our guest today, and be all of who you can be. Bye for now.
Bye.